So now we're coming to the third basic Kihon, Hiki Otoshi Uchi. And Hiki Otoshi is a powerful mechanism that's used in a number of techniques, or a number of waza in the kata. And what we have in Hiki Otoshi is a technique that is used for a variety of purposes as well. And depending on the purpose that you're using it for, it may adopt several slightly different forms. And so we should take a look at that in terms of our basic Kihon work. Probably the most fundamental form is Hiki Otoshi used as an element of clearing away the sword and dominating the central space between the two people. And so it's a technique that seizes an opportunity and seizes a moment. And it seizes it by clearing out the other man's weapon. So when we have a Hiki Otoshi in that form, we start again at a basic distance. He's in Hiki Otoshi Uchi. Nice Hante Uchi. We have a spatial condition that we've established. I'm going to leave the weapon out, and he's going to go to Hiki Otoshi Nikomai. From here, he can launch his Hiki Otoshi nice and forward, boom, and explode right through the stick. Now that strike should be done many, many, many hundreds or thousands of times in a slow motion form at first, so that you actually create the correct mechanics of it. So let's do one very, very slowly. Let's go back. Go back, please. Hiki Otoshi. And first he's rising. He's extending out, and he wants to throw forward with both hands. He wants to meet the sword way out at the end, right within the last 6 inches of the blade, of the tip. He wants to drive through with a body dropping mechanism, shearing through all the way and extend towards my center. His power is extending straight into my center line the entire time in this particular form. And it's a very powerful form. At the end, he comes up and controls to the eyes. Doing all that in a rather explosive manner, go ahead. We have Hiki Otoshi Uchi, clearing out the weapon, controlling the center line, controlling the space between us. When we do this technique in this clearing out manner, it behooves us to begin with a fairly wide angle. So if I'm facing the camera for a moment, as I lift and extend forward, it's as if I want this angle of the stick to be defining from the hip to the shoulder line here, coming all the way out and then descending down to here. We make this wide angled form of it many, many, many times. Lifting, extending, making contact, pushing and driving through. We do this over and over again, just as a static form, touching, driving through. Over time, we make it more dynamic and more fluid, and we have the full embodiment of the clearing strike. Here. Hiki Otoshi also occurs, we see it arise in the kata in a couple of other ways. So one way that it happens that shouldn't be neglected is that it happens from a Hiki Otoshi position. He's making a Hiki Otoshi, but he's doing it to forestall my entry, to forestall me coming in to challenge him for that space. And so what we're doing here is we're looking at the kata form, and we're applying that to our practice in the Kihon. Whenever you wonder, what should we be doing in Kihon? What counts as the right way to do Kihon? We always go back to the kata. We go back to the fundamentals of what's happening in the kata. How is it being applied? And if you find it applied in the kata in this particular form, then it probably means that you should do a little practice of it in this fashion. And so this is a strike that comes out and basically from Hiki Otoshi position is going to come back and look something like a number one strike. So I'm beginning to rise and he wants to stop me and come and control the space. Yeah, boom. And he stops just as if he's doing Hante Uchi. Then he goes back to Hiki Otoshi position. I begin to rise and he comes out and controls the space. This happens toward the end of many katas. So he would make a throw off of some kind. I begin to represent, and he ends it before I can ever get there. And so it's a Hiki Otoshi because it's beginning from Hiki Otoshi Nikomai. But it's presenting really as, go ahead, as coming to control the space. He's down in some disadvantageous position, and we're going to control the space. We see this again and again in the katas. Controlling the space. Hiki Otoshi done in this fashion is very, very useful and very important to practice. The third form that we run into in Hiki Otoshi comes out of the Koru katas. And it's Hiki Otoshi in its most fully embodied form. It's Hiki Otoshi that involves the strike going all the way through the body, striking his body, his center line, down through the center, his knee, all the way to the ankle. There's ankle striking or forward foot striking on the inside of this ankle as a target, embodied in some of the katas from the Koru. And so we have a form of Hiki Otoshi that's very, very traditional that happens all the way through. We do it like the clearing strike, but we go all the way down as if we're targeting the ankle and then come back up to the eyes. All the way down through the center line, then back up to the eyes. It's important to also practice this form because we need to understand and be able to launch attacks from all the way from his toes up to his knee, to his groin, through the center line of his body, all the way up to the Uto point right between his eyes. And so Hiki Otoshi needs to maintain a relationship, or your practice of Hiki Otoshi needs to maintain a relationship of being able to deliver energy on that entire plane. Thank you. Thank you.